Up there, that's where we're going. Although maybe more over that direction. We've been there before, but going a slightly different place today. I'll update later. Not gonna do the entire ride there. So I bicycled up this road. And this is the same road that I bicycled up to Roaring Lion Trail. That was like in my first week or two here. And at the time I was like, what's wrong with me? This road used to be an easy road. And now I realize, well, at that time I'd only had my bike back for a week and I had it ridden for 6 months. Today, even though it's vigorous exercise, it's been pretty easy to get this far, and right here I'm out of the way of traffic and stuff. So even though it's rigorous from here as well, I've got this. So right up there, you can see that's one of the mountains, Ward Mountain's on the other side. And over there is the canyon between Sawtooth Ridge or Goat Mountain and Downing Mountain. And you can also see it's a cloudy day. That's good. It's actually been hot this week, and so I actually planned my ride for today because this was like a break in the hot weather with some clouds. So good day for riding. So, pro tip for cyclists: don't get off your bike, take a shot and say, look at how close I am, I'm almost done. After that last shot, I started feeling a lot more tired. But still, that makes sense. I mean, this is a steep ride. I'm doing better than March, and as you can see, I've hit the gravel, and we are almost there. As well, another difference between now and March is look how green it is. So this is just about a perfect day. Green, long hours of daylight, but cloudy and cool. I actually felt a few drops, but I don't think it's going to rain, and if it does, so what? I literally don't care. There's a brown sign, and that's our goal. So last time we went to the left and we went up to Roaring Lion. This time we're going this way to Sawtooth. And now I'm kind of thinking of my logic of that, like why didn't I go to the closer destination when I was still getting accustomed. Also, it is kind of raining. I did bring extra clothing. I thought ahead. And if you look down to the valley, you can see there's a lot of sunshine down there compared to here. So the air comes over the mountains, has its orographic lifting or orogenic lifting, loses its moisture, comes down, becomes a Chinook. But it shouldn't be too hard, but it is going to be wetter here. You can also see here, pretty busy for a rainy, I guess it is a Saturday, for a rainy day, but it is June, so a lot of people coming here. I mean, not super packed, but I am surprised because sometimes I come up here and there's nobody or only one car, and it's 4 or 5 cars. So for lack of anything better, I'll lock my bicycle to this piece of metal. I guess I could also use the kiosk sign, but I'm just going to lock into that. Okay, yeah, we're back in winter. This is Sawtooth Trail. So this is Roaring Lion Creek, that's Sawtooth Ridge. This trail goes to the other side of that ridge and then goes up. How much we're going to go up today is a question, and I'm already feeling a little bit discouraged about it. But also one reason why it's windy and rainy is that the air is being channelized down this canyon coming off the mountain. Once we get behind the ridge, it might be less biting, but we will see about that. And right here we have a bridge, and I'm actually curious about that because the last time I was here was before the fire, and I talked about the video. It's also obvious there was a big fire here, and I'm not sure if that original bridge I remembered didn't burn down and got replaced by this bridge. I'll have to check the photos. I remember it looking a little bit different, but I guess we'll find out. Or I'll find out, because I can compare photos from 10 years ago. But we have this nice little pedestrian bridge over the Roaring Lion Creek. from this picture taken in February of 2015, you can see that that was indeed a different bridge before the fire. You can also see how different the landscape looked like when it was still forested. Roaring Lion is still flowing pretty full. Don't remember that sign, so maybe this is a new bridge. I'm not sure, or maybe just the sign is new. I will leave that as a mystery. Private property, no public access. That applies to that direction. This is the public trail. Of course, the creek through here is beautiful. Sometimes I wonder if it's called Roaring Lion because it roars, or because somebody saw a roaring lion here. Both explanations seem plausible. And it's really beautiful, and it's nice to be here. And because it was very different when I was here before the fire, even though I know it's the same place and I can even see some landmarks are similar, it's like it is kind of hard to place those memories as the creek is now. This photo, taken in February of 2011, shows another view of what the creek would have looked like in this approximate location before the fire. So I'm going to talk about something I don't really understand, which is forest succession. The fires happened here, I think, about 8 years ago. And in the Pacific Northwest, especially in the Coast Range, where you have very little frosts and you have a lot of moisture, the succession starts happening within a couple of years. Here, where you have a much shorter growing season, less moisture a lot of times, you can see this, you know, there are some trees here, and maybe these survived the fire, but you can see over there, there isn't really trees growing yet. And getting to the technicalities of it, like a ponderosa pine forest doesn't really regenerate the way Douglas fir forest does. So you can see here the regeneration is happening slowly, which is why fires here are a serious business. And that is so fascinating, but look at that water. Just look at that water, wow. Another thing, personal for me, is that when I came here, a lot of times it was actually in the winter when things were still frozen. So I remember a lot of this, like the water, you know, running and it being covered by ice on either side. So it's also interesting to see it in the heart of summer. And you can imagine what those chutes and pools would look like when this was frozen. Or maybe you can't, but try to imagine. Okay, so after following this for a couple hundred more feet, we're going to turn around and have like a U-turn. So right here we do see there's a lot of underbrush, and this might have just been saved from the fire because it was closer to the water. But up there, yeah, you still don't see much. But the reason I was mentioning the underbrush is moving through this does make me a little bit nervous. That's why I'm talking, because this could be bear country. Could be puma country too. Actually, one of the few places where I've seen a puma print is around here in the snow. We have a tree stump here, and you can see there is marks from woodpeckers or other related birds in there. So important point is that even when you have dead trees, they're still part of the ecosystem, and sometimes an important part of the ecosystem. Also, despite the rain, or actually kind of because of the rain, I feel like more cheerful. I think part of that is that, you know, I'm still Oregonian. And even though I like Montana in a lot of ways, kind of like when it gets rainy like this, it's kind of closer to how I imagine a nature experience should be, with soaking wet socks and face full of rain. Well, earlier I said not a lot of succession, but you can see we do have some type of seedlings here, but those are pretty small seedlings. Things grow slowly here. So I don't know if that's something a human did or that was actually cached there by a puma. My guess is that a human found that and stuck that there, but could have been done by a puma. So once again, this is a easement on somebody's property, and I always follow those things. And it's one of those things where you can always say, well, you know, if I go off the trail 10 feet, does it matter? But, you know, a lot of landowners have a really good reason that they don't want people going onto their property, can bring trash, scare wildlife, cause environmental damage. So, you know, when property owners enforce those rules, I feel that usually they're being fair and trying to preserve the land. So right now we are hiking perpendicular to the two canyons. We have this big, that's Sawtooth Ridge right there. And as I predicted, you can see we have calmer weather here. So we're coming to the turn where we'll turn to the left and go up the Sawtooth Creek Canyon is the theory. And you know how right I am about how close things are. Well, maybe you can hear it from here. I can. And actually you can see around here, these look like healthy trees. So when the fire happened, either it didn't spread to this canyon or it didn't spread to everywhere in this canyon. So I'll have a bit more of a forested and less bleak walk is the theory, but I guess we will find out. Which is actually a really important point about wildfires in the western states, maybe in other places, but specifically here, and specifically where you have topography, where you can have big barriers and canyons. You can go through a place that has literally been burnt down to the ground, worse than what we saw, because there you still have stumps and whatnot. And you can go a little bit further from there, like half a mile, and you can be in a lush green, untouched forest. And then sometimes you find intermediate places where like the trees were burnt in patches. So it'll be interesting to see what we see here, but so far it looks like we're going to have a lot more forest cover here. We have a lot of lupine growing here, which isn't a surprise because lupine grows from the shore to the tops of the mountains from Tierra del Fuego to Fairbanks, Alaska, as far as I know. But remember what I said about the canyon channelizing that air? So you can see once we're back in a canyon, that wind is blowing pretty hard. Here we have a lot more tree cover to break it up though. And we're leaving the easement and we're going to be back on Forest Service land. And this actually, we've been paralleling this for a while, and there's a road down there, and I don't know if that's a private road or if there's a Forest Service road. I don't remember that being a thing, but maybe I've forgotten what happens this way. And I don't know how far I'm going to walk and find out what this is like and if it's going to jog any old memories. Well, if nothing else, we are coming to the place with great views. From here you can see back into the valley and into Hamilton area. Don't know exactly what I'm looking at there, but somewhere around Hamilton. What do we have here? Okay, I can still pass this. This trail is not super accented. So if it keeps on getting more vague, what's the trail, I'll probably turn around. And actually I'm probably going to turn around pretty soon anyway, but we'll see. I have to put my camera down to hop over this log. Yeah, so this is a lot more uncertain than either Roaring Lion or Blodgett. So I would say this is a little bit more of an advanced hike. It could be that maybe they just haven't groomed the trail for a while, but yeah, this is a little bit more dicey. And so I'm going to continue a while, basically because I want to see if there is some type of easy water access, and then I'm going to turn around. And of course, this is a common enough plant. This is wild rose. And interesting thing about roses, despite their reputation for being a symbol of beauty and delicacy, they're very hardy. So they grow in rocky, cold, difficult terrain like this. Very common in Montana. Now I'm not absolutely sure about this, but from the leaves and from the flowers, this looks like this is some type of thimbleberry or salmonberry, which is another plant that I mostly think of being like a Pacific Northwest plant. But in the canyons like this, where you have shade, you can have plants that are a lot more Pacific Northwest. Okay, sorry, I was saying that and then I got distracted because here we have reached the water. Let's go take a look. Wow! It's rushing fast. So the path continues up this way, and like most of these paths, I don't know how far it goes, and if that is even a meaningful question, because you national forest wilderness, you can go as far as you want to. So it heads that way into Idaho, and there's no particular reason to turn around at right this point, but there's no particular reason to keep going, because there's always more to see. And so I'm going to head back this way. For one thing, my socks are wet. Also, for now, look at that sunshine. And it could actually get pretty warm. And that's actually one reason why I was more self-confident to keep going even though it was raining, is that I know it's going to be light out until 9 p.m. And probably has a chance to warm up. I would probably not do this at a different time of the year where it might like get dark and get really cold. But for now, I'm doing fine. Of course, trembling aspen as well. And one thing about trembling aspen is it can grow as a colonial organism. So these all might be genetically the same plant connected by their roots, or maybe not. I don't really know how you would test that without a lot of equipment. And you can see here the path has gone back to being a lot smoother and easier to navigate, so should be a pretty quick walk back to the trailhead is the idea. When I was coming in the first 15-20 minutes, I did actually see two small groups of hikers, 5 people in all, and they were leaving. I think they got surprised by the weather. Since then, I haven't seen anybody. And of course, I do like tranquility on a trail, but having at least a few other hikers does make me feel safer. And also, like, I might have gone further if there was more chance of, you know, there being people around if I had a problem. That's actually one of the things that keeps my hikes short, is that I haven't had like really a buddy to hike with on the whole. As far as wildlife today, I really haven't seen a lot. I've seen a couple of birds, including common birds like robins and things. And on the way in, you know, we saw some deer. Actually, I saw at least half a dozen deer. But on the trail itself, I haven't even seen a squirrel. Doesn't mean that they aren't here, but I haven't seen them today. So from here, we can hear Roaring Line Creek over in that direction. At least I can hear it. Don't know if it works in the video. So getting pretty close to the trailhead. Back here, maybe a good place to make some final summing thoughts. And also you can see, still cloudy, but it's a lot warmer. So I guess my main point about this hike, and I made this point before, but it's still very true, there's a lot of things to see just close to my home. Most of these hikes I've been doing are 10, maybe 12, 15 miles, and there's a lot of places I haven't gone yet. And also these places change every time I see it. Every time I see them. So you can compare this to, you know, Roaring Lion in March. So really, if I wanted to, I could like come up here every week and make another video and show all the different plants and everything. There's a lot to see when you want to see it. And of course, it helps to be living in Hamilton, Montana, next to a gigantic national forest. But there's a lot to see in general. So I'm just going to continue this way. Get on my bicycle, might have one more thought, but I hope today has shown another facet of nature here. One other thing to say, because today's hike was lateral, I was going between two canyons, I wasn't really making a lot of altitude gain. Probably if I would have kept on going past the point I stopped at, there would have been a lot more altitude gain. But in general, that really wasn't a challenge. The challenge is, of course, in some places, and this is why I'm pointing downward, you have a lot of things like this, so you have to be careful. But this Sawtooth Canyon hike, you know, I wouldn't say beginner, but I mean low intermediate level hike. Pretty much anybody could do it, I think, who's hikes at all. So there are a number of different hikes around here of different levels, and that's a good thing. I guess one more thing to say about this as I cross the bridge is, for me, coming to places like this is a kind of a Necker cube, because for a while I can see it like it was when it was forested, 2012, 2013, remembering what it was like to walk by this creek, walk down the bridge. And both because I have changed and because there's been so many changes with that forest fire, sometimes I feel I'm in a totally different place, even though I know it's the same place. So the two visions kind of flash back and forth. What it was, what I was, and what we are now. Okay, that was pretty philosophical, if anybody's even still watching right now. So I'm going to go and get on my bike and go home. By the way, it's right before 5 p.m. and you can still see how high in the sky the sun is. My bike fell down, so I could only see the wheel, and for a minute I was like, was my bike stolen? Which can be a problem, or, you know, removed because I wasn't supposed to put it there. No, it just fell down. Hopefully it didn't fall down in a way that, like, busted it. Guess we'll find out. Well, my bicycle's running fine, except the panniers got off center. Don't know if I can fix that here. I'll just wait till I get home because it's not affecting the ride. It took me about 8 minutes of riding to get down from the trailhead. And one other thing is, like, when I bicycle, I always budget in time for if my bicycle doesn't work. So today, even if I had a bicycle problem, I can still walk home before dark. So that's another pro bicycling tip. Okay, that's enough. Going home now.